All right, let's get started. Hi, Shannon. How's it going? Hopefully all is well. Let's get started with today's session. Before we get started, I'm just wondering, Shannon, do you have any questions regarding last week's homework at all?
No.
All right, sounds good. So let's get started with our recommended author and book of the day. Since it's just us two right now, Alina just joined in. Perfect. I'll ask this question more so in the end then. But yes, so let's get started with today's session. So let's get started with the recommended author and book of the day. Let's have Alina. Can you please read this slide for us? Sorry, Alina, can you read this slide for us if you don't mind? All right, no response from Alina. So then Shannon, I was wondering if you could read this slide for us.
Hannah Arendt was a German-born Jewish political theorist known for her profound analysis of power, authority, and totalitarianism. Um, Born in 1906, he studied under philosophers like Martin Heidegger and Karl Jaspers before fleeing back to Germany in the 1930s. Arendt settled in the United States where she became a major intellectual figure through her academic work and public writing. She never accepted the label of philosopher, preferring to see herself as a political thinker committed to understanding human action and civic responsibility. Arendt's work is interdisciplinary, bridging political theory, history, philosophy, and journalism. He is perhaps most famous for the phrase "the banality of evil," coined during her coverage of the Adolf Eichmann trial to describe how ordinary people can participate in horrific crimes through unthinking obedience. Arendt emphasized the importance of public space and political engagement for the health of democratic societies. She is known for clarity of thought, courage in controversy, and refusal to conform about ideological extremes. Her ideas remain central in debates about authoritarianism, freedom, and civic ethics. Arendt died in 1975, but her insights continue to gain relevance in times of political crisis.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Shannon. All right, so Alina, are you if possible, can you read this slide? If not just yet, I can read it out loud myself. Just wanted to know how you are with the audio.
I can.
Okay, perfect. So can you please read this slide for us?
The Origins of Totalitarianism is a comprehensive study of the historical and philosophical conditions that led to the rise of totalitarian regimes in the 20th century, specifically Nazism and Stalinism. Arendt traces the roots of totalitarianism to the collapse of traditional nation states, the spread of anti-Semitism and racism, and expansion of imperial power in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. She distinguishes totalitarianism from tyranny, arguing that it seeks not just control over behavior, but total domination over thought and reality. Arendt explores how propaganda, surveillance, and the mobilization of mass loneliness contribute to the rise of regimes that obliterate individuality and truth. She provides chilling analyses of concentration camps as spaces where the human condition is annihilated. The book is deeply historical but also philosophical in its concern with the nature of evil, the fragility of truth, and the importance of political freedom. Arendt's prose is dense but elegant, combining rigorous argumentation with moral clarity. While focused on mid-century regimes, her work has been revived as a tool for understanding modern authoritarian tendencies. The origins of totalitarianism is a cornerstone of political theory and remains essential reading in any study of power, ideology, and resistance.
Awesome. So the reason why I chose this book specifically is I thought it very much applies for today's world, especially with politics always being mentioned outside in the world. So what I was wondering if what I wanted to ask is anyone familiar with the term totalitarian well, bit of a tongue twister, totalitarianism at all? Can anyone define it? No? So basically, it means where a political system, let's say again, Nazi Germany, where the state or the government has absolute authority, controlling all aspects of, public and private life. So it's a very controlling, very forward in this idea of a dictatorship. Often leads to suppression of freedoms and opposing anyone who have different viewpoints. So, how does this form of government stay in power? How do we think? What do they usually do? Can anyone tell me? No? All right, so I'll pick both of you. So, Alina, can you tell me one idea of how this form of government stays in power so long?
Well, there's probably not elections and they don't let any other party have any power.
Absolutely, the limitation of elections. Shannon, anything to add on to that?
Or by like force, because sometimes it's like yeah, they don't have like elections, or they're just like it's just the way the government works.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another big one that I would want to kind of have guys keep in mind is the idea of terror and fear. Very, very big on including and incorporating this sense of emotion into the public because when there's fear, people don't necessarily act out. And that's how they maintain control. So, that is one thing that I would want to express. Now, propaganda. Is anyone familiar with this term propaganda? No? So propaganda just means advertisement for the political party. So let's say this political party is, again, a dictatorship. They're the ones that are going to be incorporating propaganda. If it's a dictatorship, let's say, for example, North Korea. North Korea is a dictatorship, and they need to incorporate propaganda to keep their citizens immersed in this story that they want to correct, that this government is the only and best that they would ever need in their lifetime. So that's where propaganda comes in, where they advertise saying that you're living in the best country, you're living in the best government, and this dictator is the best for you. So that's the idea of propaganda. Now, propaganda doesn't necessarily always mean specifically for government uses, but it's typically used in politics the most. Does anyone have any questions regarding this? No? All right then. So let's move on. So with the quote of the day and this idea of oppression, oppressor, the quote is, the most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. What do we think when we hear this kind of quote? I'll ask both of you. So, Alina, can you give me your perspective of your understanding of this quote?
Um, well, I guess if the oppressor makes the oppressed believe that they're inherently less worthy or um just like inferior, then the oppressor doesn't really have to do anything else.
That is very true. Shannon, can you add your understanding or your own perspective on this?
Well, I think it's like it means like the most powerful weapon is like could like the oppressors are controlling like the minds to make them think away. But yeah.
No, absolutely. And great. Thank you so much, both of you. So I have this activity here. So you are a guest speaker at a youth empowerment summit. So the title of this summit is called Reclaim the Narrative. So when you're reclaiming the narrative, you want, of course, to um, attract your audience. And your audience is a group of students who feel silenced or misrepresented in the media or education system. So typically when we think of students that are misrepresented in media or education, what kind of students would we be looking at? Shannon, any ideas?
Um, I don't know.
Not sure. Alina, any ideas of what kind of students or what kind of students would be silenced to or misrepresented? Any guesses?
No.
No? So, well, we have people of color could be one. We can have people who are technically neurodiverse, right? People who either have ADHD or Tourette's or anything of that nature under that umbrella of neurodivergency. Then we have also students who are solely just female, right? There's all people who are considered the minority or the oppressed. So it could be very open-ended of who your student body is. And I'll leave that up to you. Who are you going to talk to? So you're going to write a powerful opening speech that responds to this quote. And in your speech, you're going to interpret what the quote means in your own words. You want to connect it to a real world example, history, media, or personal experience. And then the most important part that you should prioritize is inspire your audience to think critically and reclaim the mind as a tool for resistance, education, and transformation. Now, how do we inspire? We use figurative language such as metaphors, rhetorical questions. We add similes. We add anything that we can incorporate in order to make sure that our speeches are impactful. All right. So I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes to complete these speeches, and then I will leave it for editing. So please submit into the chat after the 10 minutes are up. All right. And I'll edit both of yours. You may get started. 4 more minutes. One more minute. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the screen and then get the document prepared and get started with the editing process. All right. Give me 1 second. The screen is just loading. So, Alina, I see that you messaged first, so I'll start editing yours. So, you said, Steve Biko once said, the most potent weapon in the hand of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. What he meant is this. I would say, instead of saying what he meant is this, you could say, these words are impactful and can be understood as if someone and then we'll take this out. So these words are impactful and can be understood as if someone made you believe you're powerless. They don't need to silence you, you'll silence yourself. Let me see. I might have added something differently. These words are impactful and can be understood as if someone made you believe you're powerless. They don't need to silence you, you'll silence yourself. I would say as if these words are impactful and can be understood as if someone made you believe you're powerless. And we're gonna put a period here. Once that belief has latched, then they don't need to silence you, you'll silence yourself. Okay. And then here I'm just kind of incorporating a little bit more extra just so the flow of it is a bit impactful here. Many of us in this room have felt that. I'm just adding here, and what you have here is totally good. Just to add maybe some dramatic effect, here's what it could be like. It can many of us in the room have felt such disdain. So instead of just saying that, we want to emphasize what that is. Especially in speeches when we're discussing the topic, it's okay to be a little bit repetitive than you would in a formal essay. In school, in the media, in the way our stories are left out or told wrong. In school, in the media, in the way our stories are constantly left out or told wrong or I would say maybe instead of told wrong, we can say misleading as a different option. When you're constantly misrepresented, it starts to feel like your voice doesn't matter. But it does. Now, typically, I don't recommend you starting a sentence with but because this is a speech, this is no problem. Your voice, your story, your mind, they are powerful. Oh, this is a very cool line. I like that. Look at history. Oppressive systems have I would say instead of saying look at history, let us drive our attention back to historic atrocities. These are like just so there's again more of that dramatic impact. Oppressive systems have always feared educated, confident, questioning minds. Absolutely. That's why enslaved people were banned from learning to read. That's why colonized nations were taught to feel ashamed of their culture, to assimilate to the mainstream. Absolutely. I would, you discuss about enslaved people. This is a great example, but then you kind of go back to a general statement, which is very impactful, very important. But then I would add another sentence or another example, I should say, discussing about feeling ashamed of their culture. So you can refer to a specific tribe or specific group of people that would apply. It wasn't about control of the body, it was control of the mind. Perfect ending. Awesome. That's all the comments I have for you, Lena. Great job together. You have some really cool sentences here. I would just say in the beginning, we should add a little bit more dramatic effect. And how we do this is just reading it out loud and think, can I be more extra here? Can I not be more extra here? That's totally up to you. And that's all about stylistic preferences. But even then, I would still see how we can make things sound more dramatic, how to make things sound more impactful, especially in speech writing. Any questions about this, Alina? No? All right, then. So, Shannon, let's take a look at yours. Okay. Just going to copy and paste this here. So, Shannon, you said, hi, everyone. There's a powerful quote I want to share. The most potent one in the hands of those, blah, blah, blah. It means that when people are treated unfairly, I would say, now here is fine, but I'm going to switch up the wording, how to make it sound a little bit more leveled up here. So when you say it means that when people are treated unfairly, what you could also say here is the meaning highlights of the unfair treatment against humanity. So here I incorporate everything that you say, but sorry about that, guys. For some reason, I got kicked out. So let's continue. Sorry, let me go back to the document. So yes, here I incorporate everything you wanted to say, Shannon, but I just add that little extra zhuzh into it. And how you do that is that you look at different ways you can move around the sentence structure, and you also look at vocabulary. So, and that's all done through just experimenting with language in general. So whenever you find a word that you would want to change around, see what you could do there. And look at example sentences using that specific term. It's a great way to kind of see how you can structure certain things. The strongest way to keep them down is by making them believe they aren't good enough. So when you say them, you're discussing the oppressed, right? The oppressed people. Sorry, Shannon, when you mention them, are you discussing about oppressed people here?
Yeah.
Okay, so just so we're adding again that repetition, and in speech writing, repetition is okay. So the strongest way to keep humanity down or the strongest way to keep down humanity is by making society, and this is where we find synonyms of humanities, communities, and we just switch them up. They all essentially mean the same thing anyways in this context, so we can use those terms interchangeably. So the strongest way to keep down humanity is by making society believe they aren't good enough. If someone can make you doubt your worth, they don't need to silence, so you'll do it yourself. Perfect. I would say even like taking up can. So if someone makes you, or maybe instead of make, we can add this term here, enforces you to doubt your worth, they don't need to silence you. You'll do it yourself. This happens when students don't see themselves in textbooks or when the media only shows negative stories about certain groups. Absolutely. Over time, it can make you feel invisible or unimportant. But here's the truth. You matter. Your voice matters. Absolutely. Think about Malala Yousafzai, or Yousafzai, terrible at last names. Think about, I think I would say, instead of saying think about, we can say, let's discuss. Let us discuss a key figure. Discuss key figure or key role model. A key role model, Malala Yousafzai. She was told girls shouldn't go to school, but she kept learning and speaking out. Now the world listens to her. So speak up, ask questions, believe in your value, even when the world tries to ignore it. Your mind is powerful. Don't let anyone use it against you. Thank you. Awesome. Great ending. So here for you, Shannon, I would just say play around with the structuring and the wording. Be more ambitious with some of the vocabulary here. And again, the only kind of way to do it is just experimenting. You see a word that you would want to use, rather than making it generic, see what you could add in. And it's okay to be a little bit repetitive here. Any questions?
No.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. Let's move on and see what is here. Where is the slideshow? Here it is. I'm just gonna go back. Let's see. Okay. And then here we are. So we'll do the reading later. I want to focus on a little bit on grammar. So here, this multiple choice questions, again, is very similar to something you would see to the SAT. Now, it is a little different from what we have been covering so far in a sense that the idea is not necessarily like a specific theme of grammar. It's just understanding the objective for each multiple choice. And the objectives may ask very different questions within each one. It's just knowing when things are going to be sounding more grammatically correct. So here, it might be a little difficult in a sense that there's not one obvious answer. So just here, when you're looking at the multiple choice, just choose the best one of the four, and then we will take it up. Okay, so there's 8 questions, and then we'll take it up at the end. All right, so you may get started. I'm going to give you guys here around 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next slide. Oh, and please submit your answers privately in the chat. All right, please submit your answers here, and then we're going to move on to the next slide in 3, 2, 1. All right, so again, another 3 to 5 minutes here. All right, sorry guys, a little tech issues. For some reason, I keep on getting kicked out, but yes, yes, I'm going to be moving slides in 3, 2, 1. So these are the last two, and then please submit your answers all together, and then we are going to be moving to the answer key after. So here I'll give you around 3 minutes to complete, and then we will go through the answer key. All right, time is up. Let's move on to the answer key. So here from questions 1 through 8, we have D, B, C, A, D, A, B, C. Now, is there any questions that would anyone like to go over? No? So if there are no questions right now, if you have any questions in the future, please let me know. But if not, then we can always cross-reference it on your own time as well. All right, so let's move on to the reading task. So this passage is called The Value of Dissent in Democratic Societies. So again, on this theme of politics um, in the theme of politics, I have provided this reading. So we're going to take turns reading. So Shannon, can you please read the first 2 paragraphs if you don't mind?
Throughout history, dissent has often been viewed as a disruptive force, an interruption to peace and consensus. However, a closer look reveals that dissent is not the opposite of democracy. Rather, it is a crucial component of it. Societies that embrace the right to speak out, protest, and challenge dominant views tend to be more adaptable and just. Consider the abolitionist movement, the civil rights protests of the 1960s, or even the student-led climate strikes in recent years. All those acts that were dissent were at one time seen as dangerous or radical, and yet many of them paved the way for essential reforms. In each case, individuals or groups challenges powerful systems and demanded that society live up to stated ideals.
Awesome, thank you so much. Alina, can you please read the last 3 paragraphs for us?
Critics may argue that dissent breeds division and chaos. However, unity based on silence or repression is fragile and deceptive. True unity can only emerge when differences are acknowledged and debated openly. A democracy thrives when citizens are not only allowed but encouraged to question authority, test norms, and voice alternatives. Today, in an age dominated by digital echo chambers and polarized media, protecting dissent is more vital than ever. When algorithms filter the information we see, and when public discourse is shaped by popularity rather than reason, it becomes easy to dismiss voices that differ from our own. Yet it is precisely these voices, however inconvenient or uncomfortable, that often reveal our blind spots. To safeguard democracy, we must do more than tolerate dissent. We must learn to value it. This means creating environments, classrooms, workplaces, communities, where disagreement is not a threat but an opportunity. Only then can we hope to build societies that are resilient, fair, and free.
Awesome, thank you so much. So this term dissent has been being used throughout this entire reading. Just to confirm that we are all on the same page of what dissent means, I'll ask one of you to define it. So Alina, can you tell me what the term dissent is or how you understood dissent to be?
It means disagreeing opinions, usually against the majority.
Absolutely, yeah, that is correct. So, again, very relevant to today's time. So I thought this was a very cool reading for us to do. Now, I have some multiple choice here, again, that are not very forward in question. They are more so, I wouldn't say opinionated, but there is a right answer, but I would say that you would have to critically analyze the text in order to fully understand and answer it. Now, we are going to take turns explaining why we chose what we chose. As I mentioned, that's not necessarily a right answer, but there is the most correct answer, I would say. But I would love to hear like your thought processes of why you would say each multiple choice. So we will be taking turns. So I highly encourage everyone to make sure that we're answering all multiple choice. All right. So we have questions 1 through 6 on this slide. So please answer questions 1 through 6, and then we'll go to the next. Sorry, I forgot to also mention that you guys would be getting around 6 minutes to complete the multiple choice. So far you have 4 minutes left. All right, time is up. Please start submitting your responses privately into the chat. Remember, we are going to be taking up the multiple choice quickly and hearing your reasonings behind why. All right, these are the final 4 questions. So please, again, I'll give you guys around 5 minutes to complete, and then we will be taking it up. All right, time is up. Please submit your responses. Okay, awesome. So just to kind of bring light into the multiple choice, we're just going to kind of take it up all together. So for number one, the author's primary purpose in the passage is to, Shannon, what did you put here?
I said C, like argue for the importance of dissent in democratic societies.
Absolutely, yep. And that one's pretty obvious considering dissent has been used throughout the entire reading. So, yep, absolutely. All right. For number two, Alina, can you please answer this question for us? Which best describes the tone of the passage?
I said B
And why is that? Why would it be reflective and persuasive?
because the passage is trying to persuade you um that like how to protect democracy, and it's also reflecting on past experiences.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, reflective and persuasive. Absolutely. Now, number three, the author refers to abolitionists. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my pronunciation today. Abolitionist, excuse my pronunciation, movement and climate strikes primarily to Alina. Oh, sorry, Shannon. Can you please answer number three?
Um, I said C because they provide examples of dissent that led to like reform.
Why would you say C?
Because those like show like examples, like real life examples of dissent that can like support her argument.
Yeah, so exactly. We support dissent, support uh the consequence of those kinds of dissents to build reform. Number four, Alina, according to the author, why is unity based on silence problematic? Why would that be considered problematic?
I answered C.
And why would you say C?
Well, because it says true unity can only emerge when differences are acknowledged and debated openly, and the opposite of that would be um essentially there isn't true unity because the differences aren't acknowledged, which is just essentially lacking genuine consensus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Number five, what rhetorical device is most prominent in paragraph two? Shannon?
I said D, which is this evidence.
For number five,
Yeah,
you said D, statistical evidence. And what kind of statistics did they bring in paragraph two?
like they say like the abolitionist movement and like the civil rights protests, and those are like evidence.
Okay. And then Alina, what would you say for number five, rhetorical devices? Would you agree, disagree? Have you noticed maybe another type of rhetorical device being used?
I haven't.
No? And both of you are correct. Awesome. So here for number six, which statement would the author most likely agree with? Dissent should be minimized in times of crisis. Social media has improved the quality of public discourse. Disagreement can lead to stronger, more just societies. Challenging norms is inherently disrespectful to tradition. So here, Alina, for number six, what would you say and why?
I would say C is the answer
Mhm.
because in the passage, it's literally talking about how disagreement is good for democracy.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. And Shannon, you agree? Disagree?
I agree.
Awesome. Great job. All right, do the last four. So what is the effect of the phrase digital echo chambers in paragraph 4? What kind of effect does it give? Shannon? What would you say for number 1 here? What is the
Um,
effect of the phrase digital echo chambers?
I wasn't sure, but I guessed A because it was like um it like emphasizes like technology, like it's that because with like the digital echo chambers, it's
Awesome. Yeah, that is definitely a good answer, good effect. It does emphasize it. Now, Alina, do you agree or do you disagree? Do you think there might be something else?
I agree.
So absolutely, it does emphasizes and strengthens dissent. Now, I want to kind of challenge this idea and say might be no B here. And I have B listed. Now, A is correct. Not saying that A is correct, but we have to think about what echo chambers are, how it's being used. When we think of echo chambers, we think of what exactly? Are we familiar with the term echo chambers? Is anyone familiar with echo chambers at all?
not really, but I've seen those like chambers where you like talk and like the walls like they echo off.
Absolutely. They echo off, there's noise. It's pretty much exposing, right? Every single individual that speaks in this digital subspace. So there's less places to hide, I would say. So while A is correct, B, I would say, adds more specific or specifies the idea of digital echo chambers, where that people are more visible, less people are hiding, I would say. Any questions about that? No? All right, then for number 2, which claim is most directly supported by the passage? Alina? What would you say about number 2, Alina?
I think um it would be C
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
because it's saying like the passage is arguing that opposition is good for democracy.
Yeah,
So silencing opposition would have the opposite effect.
absolutely. Yep, great job. And Shannon, do you agree, disagree with this statement?
I agree.
Perfect, awesome. All right, number 3, which word best captures the author's view of dissent? Shannon?
I said C because like in the whole passage she was talking about how dissent was like essential and we needed dissent to keep like democracy and to like make the whole world um like at peace, I guess. And that's like basically what the author said for the entire passage.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I agree. Essential seems to be quite the most appropriate term here. Now let's see, number 4. What does the author imply about education in the final paragraph? Alina?
I think it's D because it says that we should create environments such as classrooms where disagreement is not a threat but an opportunity.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Great job, everyone. All right. So, as we're finalizing the multiple choice, um, excuse me, I have this writing task for you to do. So the author suggests that dissent should be valued, not just tolerated. So, in your opinion, what are the limits, if there's any, to dissent in a democracy? Can disagreement go too far? And if so, who decides where that line is? So you should use examples from history, current events, which I think there's many current events, and also maybe bring up some of your own experience. All right. So I'll give you guys around 10 minutes to complete, and then we'll quickly take it up. All right, so you may get started. 2 more minutes. All right, time is up. Please submit what you have. It's okay if you're not completely finished, but I do want to see what you guys have done so far. I am going to stop sharing and get started with the editing process. There'll be a quick edits. It won't be as thorough as I would want it to, but that's okay. All right, so Alina, let's take a look at yours real quick. So you said dissent is essential in a democracy because it challenges injustice and pushes society toward fairness, as seen in the abolitionist and civil rights movement. Uh, mm, I would take out the civil rights and civil rights movements. However, there must be limits, like when dissent incites violence, spreads hate, or we need to take out the comma. Oops. Or undermines democratic value. Actually, no. Or undermines democratic values themselves. All right. That's pretty good. For example, peaceful protests that demand climate action or racial injustice strengthen democracy, while events like the January 6th Capitol attack cross the line, threatening the very foundation of democratic rule. In a healthy democracy, disagreement should be open and vigorous, but not at the cost of truth, safety, or equal rights. True dissent seeks progress, not destruction. Awesome. I would say here, when dissent events implements peaceful protests that demand climate action or racial injustice, strength, sorry, never mind. Strengthen democracy while events like the January 6th attack, Capitol attacks, while events like the crosses, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out the flow here. For example, peaceful protests demand climate action or racial justice, strengthen democracy. I'm going to put a period here, and I would say in comparison, events like the January 6th Capitol attacks, crosses, crosses the line, threatening the very foundation of democratic rule. In a healthy democracy, disagreements should be open and vigorous, but not at the cost of truth, safety, or equal rights. Okay, awesome. All right, Shannon, before I edit yours, let me just quickly mention the homework, just in case if, Alina, if you have to go immediately. So for the homework, it's this writing task that you see here. It's #team underdog. It's a new social media movement where individuals defend commonly disregarded, ridiculed, or underappreciated items. So what you're going to do is just choose something surprising and then get a clear stance, defend it logically and passionately, and then use one example of that. So just go through this writing task and it'll be due at the forum by next week. All right. So, Alina, if you have to go, no problem. Shannon, I'm just gonna edit your work. If you can stay back a few more minutes, and then, yeah, and then we'll end today's session. So, Shannon, you said the limit of dissent in democracy is where people disagree and protest constantly. I would say, instead of saying so much, I would say constantly. That there's chaos and war. I would take that out. Dissent is only good and beneficial if it is contained and controlled. But too much can cause the people to take over the government. Too much resistance consequently creates situations where people take over the government. People take over the government and possibly start an all-out war. People decided, nobody really decided. I would take out the really. I would say here, instead of saying that, it is inconclusive on who decides where the line is. And then we'll take that out. And then, but everyone should have a sense of where it is. The breaking point is when people start grouping up and acting violent. Then after that, it only spreads, and that is not dissent. That is violent corruption and selfishness. Any less than that, it is controllable and it is good dissent. Okay, so we'll stop here, Shannon. There is just a few structural issues that I need you to kind of focus on. And the easiest way to pinpoint when that is by reading it out loud first. And also playing around with wording. Feel experimental. Go on Google Dictionary, Google Synonyms, and just find different ways of saying certain words, even certain phrases. Sometimes there's synonyms for that as well. Any questions regarding the feedback I just gave you right now?